Make sure that you've checked your homework in the back to make sure you got the right answers for those, and I'll probably be checking homework when I return. As you take a look at lesson 5 today as we are looking at this lesson, translations and congruences. I should be able to translate in a coordinate plane. That means our slides, right and left, up and down, right, to the diagonal if we want. Verify that they're congruent and describe the transformation. So when we look at our translations, as we took a look at our rules last week, one of the things we said is a translation moves a figure from the same distance, same direction. The image of that translation is always going to be, the key word here is congruent to the original. Now last year you worked with similar figures. This year we're talking about congruent ones. And congruent means that they have the same size and shape. So when we translate, remember, we're thinking of it as an ordered pair, x comma y. If we go to the right, we're going to add. If we go up, we're going to add to our y coordinate. If we look at our, moving it to the left, we're going to subtract. And if we are moving down, we are going to subtract from our y coordinate. So it says to translate this figure, and they ask us to translate it 4 to the right. So we're going to go 4 to the right, plus 4 to the right, and 3 up, meaning plus 3. So think about what is our rule first. X comma y changes to 4 to the right is x plus 4. And we shouldn't have the back parenthesis, we should have a comma, and then going up 3, y plus 3. And you are asked to actually draw that figure. So I am going to count 4 to the right for k. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, and now I'm going to go up 3. 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to put my new point. Now I notice if this is k, I'm going to call it k prime. And notice back one was L. This is L prime. What do I notice is that if I move this over 4 and up 3. Now, I notice that from L to M it goes down 1, 2, 3 units. So I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3 units. And my new point M prime should be here. Okay, so I'm looking at this one. Notice N is over 1, 2, over 1, 2. Did I still use my rule? Did I go over 1, 2, 3, 4, and up 1, 2, 3? I did. So we are drawing those figures, and we are now labeling them with the prime to let us know that it's our new one. It says using the coordinate notation, we want to describe how the blue figure, okay, translate from the blue to the red. So the blue is our original to the red. And if you look at point A, we moved it over 6 and down 3 as we are counting. So when we look at that, that's how we show it. So it just says describe this one in the blue. Describe the transformation from the blue, which is our original, to the red, which is our image. So notice from the blue to get to point V, we had to move backwards. Well, V isn't a real good one because it's kind of in the middle, so I'm going to use point R. Point R, I'm going to move it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I move it over 5, which means my x is minus 5. What happens to my y coordinate? I moved it down 1, 2, 3, 4. So my y is minus 4 when I am taking a look at that one. So that is my new point in describing the rule. You'll be doing similar ones in your homework tonight. Sometimes you're asked to draw it, other times explain. It says if two figures are congruent, if their corresponding sides are the same length and the angle. So same size, same shape. How can you prove two triangles are congruent? What do we need to show? We need to show these two things, that their corresponding sides, that means the sides that are in the same spot, corresponding sides, are equal in length. The other thing we need to show is that the angles, like the same angles, and I'm just going to use this abbreviation, are equal in measure. And which angles am I talking about? I'm talking about this angle A to this angle A to A prime. I'm talking an angle B prime has to be exactly the same measure as B. I'm talking that C, which I'm using 3 tick marks, is going to be the same as C prime. It says, how can you find the lengths of the sides? Well, if we're looking at the lengths of the sides, we could measure with a ruler or in centimeters, right? So we could measure, if we're trying to find the lengths of the sides with a ruler. Sometimes you might use a protractor because protractors actually will have that on the bottom, will have the measures, okay? How do we measure angles? We definitely want a protractor here. And remember, a protractor is what measures our angles, kind of has that shape kind of like this, okay? And you measure your angles. And then it says, in a translation, does the orientation from the original figure change? Orientation is how you go around it. So if I go from A to B to C, I would say that the orientation of triangle ABC, its orientation is clockwise. Okay, so when I go to the new figure, which we call A prime, B prime, C prime, and if I go around that one, have I changed the direction I'm going? We have not. So it says, in a translation, does the orientation change when it is translated? Since our orientation here is going to be exactly clockwise, does it change? No, it stays exactly the same. If you need to pause this, make sure you do so that everyone can get this written down. As you look at this next part, what we want to do is try and describe the transformation. Now, it's the blue, and I know in your notes it's hard to tell which is blue and which is red. So I'm going to have you write the word blue by the blue ones. So blue, and over here you're going to write blue. And then for our red, we're going to write red right next to those, because I know in your notes you can't really tell. So the blue is the original, okay? That's figure number 1. The red is going to be figure 2. That's what we're moving on to. So we want to describe our rule. And when I look at going from the blue to the red, I want to write it out as a rule. So I'm always starting with X, Y. I'm going from the blue to the red. So like in this one, I might just pick one of the points. So I'm going to pick moving here to here, okay? How did I move it? I moved 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right. That gives me X plus 5. And once I got over 5, I moved it up 1, 2, 3, 4. Y plus 4. I would like you to pause the video right now, and I would like you to try this one and check with your shoulder partner. So pause the video. We're going to write our rule, and again, this time pick one of these points, and how did you move it? First, we might have moved it to the left, and then we might have moved it up. Think about your rule, and I'm going to have you pause the video and write that. You will now see the rule, and if you need to pause it so that you can draw this triangle, LMN, and then we want to translate it. So I had mine in black, and now I want to do this translation, and I want to move it, if we are looking at that, -3. That means I should go 3 to the left, and then up 1. So again, what I would like you to do is pause the video so that you can draw this, and then we will take a look at this one on your paper. Now, one of the things that you're sometimes going to notice is that some of these points will be right on top of each other. That's okay. Just make sure you're labeling them with that little tick mark to show the first and the second. Same in your homework. You have quite a few different ones that you're doing on the graphs. So the key thing we want to review, what is a translation? A translation, remember, is a slide. Slide could be to the right, to the left, up, down. A reflection, the word that we like to think of, is that is a flip. And you're usually going to change the orientation. So flips change orientation. What do we mean by the orientation? Remember, that's our going around the figure. Whereas slides, orientation is going to stay the same. When you go just slide something, the orientation stays the same. Meaning if it was clockwise before, it's going to stay clockwise. Now, as we take a look at each of the pictures down below here, what you're asked to do is label it as a translation, a reflection, or neither. So what I would like you to do is just pause the video, and everyone should do these 3 right now. And then you'll turn the video back on and you will see your answers. Should have had reflect. Should have had translate. If you haven't done the last one, should be neither. Okay, so here we're sliding, here we're reflecting as we look at those. Now, your assignment And I know this is, as you look at this assignment, there's a lot to do. First thing you always have to do is plot the points. Then you're doing the translation. You do not need to tell me the new points. You just need to have the two pictures, okay? And it starts off with just two things, but then I want you to take a look as you are doing over here. First you translate it here, and this will have three, in this case, we're gonna have three different figures, okay? A, B, C, D, we're gonna have three figures. You're gonna have the original one, which is your A, B, C, D. You're gonna have the A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime. That's gonna be with this change. And then the last one is gonna be here. And so make sure, and I don't care if you wanna use, and I would definitely use pencil because mistakes are made. And this last one you're gonna call your A double prime, B double prime, C double prime, D double prime. Notice this one too. So this one only has two pictures. And I know when you check in the back of the book, they're only gonna have the original and the last one. Again, this one, here's your first one, your original one, A, B, C, that triangle. This is gonna be your second picture. So this is your first, this is your second, this is your third. So remember, you must have three. And as you go through each of these, again, one, this is your second, and then the third one. So the answers in the back only show the two. On your pictures in your homework, I will see all three as we are looking at them. So I know sometimes that these seem a little long as you're looking at them. And again, as we finish this, just keep being diligent and showing your work. Also keep in mind your answers are in the back, so if at any time you really need to check your answers or see how you're doing, you can do that, checking them in the back. But if you need extra help, come and see us. Come in and see Mrs. Opheim or myself or Mrs. Lee. Thank you.